YouTube, welcome back to another video, and thanks for tuning in. This is actually the first video that's come out since the launch of Property X, so thanks to everyone that checked out my launch. If you're looking for help with getting started in property, make sure you check out the Property X program, which is kind of like a hybrid course stroke one-to-one training. You know, I feel like I'm in a great position to help any beginners getting into property. You know, I've not got hundreds of buy-to-lets, but that almost benefits me because I remember what it's like to be a beginner, because you know, I was a beginner 2-3 years ago. But for today we are heading over to see Elliot. So Elliot Wise, he's a previous guest on my channel, and today we're going to be talking more in depth about his student HMOs, how he found them, you know, what it's like to set them up, how much money he aims to make from them. So yeah, stay tuned for hopefully an interesting interview. Good, how are you? Yeah.
So these are kind of, there's nothing on this property listed at all, which is surprising.
Yeah, it is.
Which is really cool.
And a massive time saver when it comes to getting planned.
Yeah, and also checked all the trees. There's none under a tree preservation order. I phoned the council up, asked them, so there's nothing here that's protected. Pretty much everything can be touched. And also a couple of the other houses up this lane already had like big extensions put in. Like we got planning permission granted within a month.
Really?
Yeah, so I was like, well, that's quite a bonus.
And I guess you've got no one like right next to you or over.
There's nothing. Well, so what we're going to do actually, you see the house at the moment?
Yeah, yeah.
It's long, but it's not very deep.
Yeah.
They put a little extension on the back. That's the back of it there, just where that trellis is.
I see, yeah.
I want to double, we're going to double the depth. So basically about 2,500 square foot at the moment, just shy.
Yeah.
It's about 2,350. I want to put another 2,350 on the back.
Yeah.
So it's going to be deep.
Huge.
And then open it all up through the middle and have like a big staircase,
nice big
landing.
Entrance.
And then that's the plan. And then going to take out a lot of the back garden part and just open that all up.
Yep. Do a nice big Guy Phoenix job.
Yeah, do you watch? I've been watching something. I like him a lot. I mean, very interesting character. But what I like about him is he's a prime example of like he didn't need to have qualifications to do well.
Yeah,
Like he's completely unorthodox, and like the eccentric millionaires kind of like it.
Yeah.
You know, he backs himself completely as well for watching his videos. But yeah, a bit like a Guy Phoenix. I actually really like because he doesn't go conventional. It is quite different. I dread to think how much it costs.
Yeah, huge amount.
Because nothing is normal.
But I also like the fact he's kind of saying like you don't need to do 40 house developments. You can just make one incredible statement piece.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a matter of like you have to do anything in life. Just pursue what you enjoy doing more.
So these are really nice, aren't they?
Yeah, these are lovely. I'm going to try and convert. Well, we'll renovate them at the very least, but I wouldn't mind turning like one into an office or something.
Oh yeah.
And then have a outlook over the field. I want to open up this front lawn. I want it to be like a big driveway with a big water fountain feature. Keep a lot of the greenery in, and have like a double or triple garage over to that side. So you drive into that. Walk, then obviously once it's attached to the house, so if it's raining, you can walk into the house without getting wet.
So you're keeping that separate from the clinic then?
This is also, that starts next month, start of October. We've already got the drawings for it. Builders will booked in.
Oh, right.
That'll all be done. That's going to be huge. Be a big clinic.
So, Elliot, thanks for coming on. And today I thought we'd talk about HMOs this time.
Yeah.
So, straight into it. What was the main reason that you went for HMOs over any other property strategy when you got started?
To be completely honest, I didn't know about property strategies, right? So I didn't know anyone that did properties. I didn't look online. I literally was like, I chatted to one guy that helped me with my mortgages and was like, I'm thinking about getting a place up north, because I was actually up with my wife was finishing her medical degree, or starting a medical degree, in Stoke-on-Trent, and I moved into. She bought a place to live in and rent out the other rooms to her medical friends while she did her smart. So it covered her rent, covered her uni bills. So I moved out of my lovely 4-bed detached house down south into another student house after having lived with students, and I was like, right. I said to her, I was like, after about a year, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, well, I'm going to buy a house in Stoke and we're going to move in. And afterwards, what we'll do is we'll rent it out to other students. So that was literally my thought process. I didn't literally look into any other strategies, and I was like, right, we're going to, and then I did that. And then we bought a house together, and then she rented out the other rooms to students again. Right? I was like, okay. She liked to make you money. So it was kind of like, then by default, by accident, we started learning how HMOs worked, how all the kind of licensing worked, because I had to obviously learn on the go and made a lot of mistakes, as you do, but learn by literally doing. And that's how I pretty much built all my businesses. Then after that, I was like, okay, what other strategies were? And I actually realised that I kind of stumbled into quite a good one, because a lot of the ones we were buying didn't need to be licensed because the area was pretty good. We were buying in the right place. We were getting really good rental yields per room. We were buying it. I was kind of just doing a lot of research on house prices in the area, working out just kind of what kind of profits I'd be earning, had a chat with my accountant, working out like kind of profitabilities, and okay, this kind of works. Which is basic business sense. I mean, I had lots of business up to that point, so just using that same kind of rationale, thinking, okay, the only downside obviously was a lot of downsides to having HMOs versus like a long-term tenant or something like that. I was petrified of having like a family member move in, maybe like a single mum with a child, I shouldn't say that, but then not being able to get them out if he ever needed to. So I had all these worries. I was like, well, students then want to stay. So I was like, that was kind of my main, I was like, it's easy. And to be honest, the kind of, the contractual place, but how much damage they can do in 1 year is going to be limited to, I mean, if you have something for 5 years, 6 years, you don't check up on it. I mean, so I was kind of like, that's why I did it.
At least you can get in, I guess, between tenancies.
And that's why I did HMOs. There was no real set reason. You probably not find that particularly.
No, I do actually. I think that's because most people I'd ask that and they'd say, oh, because it's high cash flowing, because it's the best strategy for leaving my job early. So actually, that's quite an interesting reason as to why. And the mortgage guy that helped you out, as you said, did you find it easy to get mortgages, or was it quite a bit of a minefield?
Mortgage-wise, I mean, mortgages are always good fun, but I've been bought a couple of my own houses up to that point. That was my first buy-to-let kind of mortgage, so commercial mortgage, and then obviously just then having to make sure you had the deposit, which was higher, understanding obviously your interest rates, and then obviously going to interest only versus repayments and looking into those things. And I chose for interest only because I was cash flow. Because I basically looked at it as a vehicle to put more money into my businesses and somewhere to store cash that I had saved. So I was looking at it from a business owner perspective rather than that as a vehicle to get me out of my job. So I was probably looking at it quite differently to how people that come to you look at properties. I already had established businesses, was like, how can I integrate this into my businesses and make this work for me?
Yes. Yeah.
So you talk about cash flow. Yeah, I thought about cash flow in terms of how can I get the money out? How can I put money into it and get money back out to then put back into the businesses that I can then put into properties and then, and then have some form of, and then I was like, well, okay, if they appreciate it a certain amount of time, I can remortgage them, get more. And I didn't really ever want to have a lot of money sitting in the bank.
Yes.
So for me, what I'd like to do is have one business at the top that's a kind of property owning company, and then my other bit owns my other businesses, so I can push money upwards when I need to and invest in properties through that business. So I use it like a triangle.
Yeah, just keep cycling the money.
I'd rather have money sat in properties than in the bank.
Yes.
I don't trust the economy. I don't trust money. I don't as a long-term safety net. No.
Well, I think most people knowing and watching this right now would know that you've got 100k sitting in the bank over a long period of time. It's not a smart investment decision, and that money will just be devaluing over time, earning little interest. So the HMOs, you've bought them. Do you mind me asking how many you've got?
We're at 7 now, I think.
7?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, it would be a lot more, but the way the economy's gone the last year, prices have gone up through the roof. So I set myself a price per room, basically. So I had a metric that I was kind of, as I got a little bit more experience with buying, I worked out a little algorithms like I would do business and be like, right, okay, how much would I want to pay per room in a house? So I had like a 35 grand per room allowance I gave myself. So I said, right, okay, so if there's 3 rooms, the house value would be X. Yeah. And I've noticed in the last year, just house prices getting way above and beyond that. So I'm like, well, actually I'd get better returns. I'll just put this back in my business right now. Yeah. So I've just held off and I'm waiting for a price of property. I mean, whether or not it comes, I'm expecting a correction in the market at some juncture. I'll be invested. I don't like buying when things are high. Yeah. So that's the only reason I don't have 10, 15 right now.
And what's interesting is you saying that because you are a smart businessman,
Well,
in the sense that you know that market cycle. This high isn't going to last forever. But a lot of people, you know, and me guilty as well, you know, in the good times, we forget the bad times.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad time will come eventually. It's hard to say when it will be. And every time, you know, I made a prediction last year that it would happen by now and got that horrendously wrong. However, it will at some point, whether it's 6 months, you know, 3 years, it will happen. So your plan is to buy at that point.
I buy everything low.
Yeah.
So I'm quite confident in my own decision making, and I'm very happy to do things not because other people are doing them, because I think it's the right time to do them. Yeah. I think just the FOMO is one of the biggest detriments to people purchasing things and jumping on a bandwagon or investing in something because everyone else is investing in it. That's the time you really don't want to be. I think Warren Buffett said that. Like,
yes, yeah.
If everyone's doing it, you probably shouldn't be. You know, like that's the time not to be doing it. And market's all correct. I did economics at university. It's one thing I did learn that's actually applicable, and things always come up and go down. It's not linear.
Yeah,
there's roller coasters, and markets boom and they decline, and that's just part of it. That you can't get around that. That's a natural cycle, and therefore, why buy the expensive part? Like, I mean, unless you get a cracking deal, there's still deals to be had. Like, of course there is. There's still gold. I mean, I bought my house we're living in right now during one of the. But I sold mine at a premium. Yeah. I think I bought well. So in that instance, it worked.
Yes, yeah. I did the same last year.
Yeah. So just because, so there's caveats to what I just said, but on the whole, I don't want. That's why I'm not piling more properties into the portfolio.
Yeah. I mean, as you've just said, it's the nice thing about property. If you compared it to like the stock market, if the market's high, you have to buy in high if you're not going to buy. Whereas in the property market, the market's high, but you stumble across a deal, you still can buy it if it's a good price. So it's the nice thing about property. Again, it's more subjective, isn't it? So, but going back to you buy the HMOs. You said that you learned a lot as you went along, as we do, business. But in terms of like the rules, the regs, looking after students, how did you learn about how to set up a HMO? For example, I think that's what a lot of people, certainly me. If I was to buy HMO, I'd be nervous about, what about fire alarms, safety doors, stuff like that. Did you
phone up the council?
Just phone up the council.
Well, every council has different rules as well. So depending on where you are, some places have to be licensed, some don't. What does that mean to be licensed? So for one, Google, there's some really good private Facebook groups, some HMO groups and stuff like that, which I joined and asked questions in there. You will get a wave of negative responses, and there's a lot of really negative people in these groups, which I found, that try and shoot people down, don't want people to be successful. That's fine, you have to read through the rubbish. And then if you've really got a question, get the council around. I had the council come round, and I think they sent the five people over, and they looked and said, right, you need these fire alarms in here, this, that and the other. I mean, I ask questions. If you want to toe the line, you want to be a good landlord, ask the people that are enforcing the rules, and they'll help you out. And I would say with anything when it comes to any grey area, always check, in my opinion.
Rather than risk it,
right? Yeah. Because the last thing you want is like, I might get away with that, and then you get an inspection and you get clobbered. It's not worth it. I mean, these rules are here because they want you to be a better landlord. I think a lot of the rules that the council put in place, yes, they can be a bit annoying, but they're trying to make a better experience for the tenants, and they're trying to stop rogue landlords. When you work with the council, they leave you alone.
Yeah.
You're less likely to get checked. They're much less likely to want to come and look at you. I mean, we've asked questions and said, we think I do this and this. Just make sure you do this. Do you need to come and see it? No, it's fine. You've actively phoned up. We've got 5 rooms and it's over 3 floors. Yeah, that needs a license. Okay, how do we get that? Okay, do this and let's fill this form in. No, they'll actually help you.
Because they just want things to be
safe. They want things to be safe, and they want you to ask the question.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not there to hold back information and try and catch you out. That's not what they're trying to do. So if in doubt, ask. Like I said, look up for, or find other like mentors like yourself that know and have been through it.
Yeah.
I didn't have anyone like you, otherwise I would have probably asked you. I mean, property's not my forte. I mean, I do okay in it, but it's not my thing. It's not my main area of like expertise. So with anything, when I don't know anything inside and out, I find someone that does, that researches it and knows what they're doing. And if I don't, I'll ask the authorities or like whatever. So that's how I do it, and that's just, I think it's a rational step.
Yeah, no, I think it's, a general rule for life is, if in doubt, just ask.
Ask.
Don't be scared to ask, which a lot of people are. So
I think the main reason being is like, oh, I don't want to alert them to something that's wrong.
Yeah.
Or something the other. I'm like, well, you probably should get that sorted, or you may have bought incorrectly, or you should have got, that's what I would say, better advice before you bought that place.
Yeah.
I made that mistake with one of mine. I bought a place, actually it was my own fault. I was misled by the estate agents who said one of the room sizes was a room size, and it wasn't. When I got there, the room size wasn't to legal requirements. It was slightly smaller, so I ended up having to knock a wall out and actually extend them to still.
Right.
I know that cost me several £1,000s to do it because I was missold because I didn't go see the property when I bought it.
Got you.
I've got to the point now where I kind of buy things based on what I know to be pretty good. If the area's right, I'll snap it up because by the time I get up there, it's gone.
Got it. Yeah. Well.
So I'm buying stuff quicker, and I've got the ability to be able to buy stuff faster. But with that comes errors. I didn't go and measure the rooms myself.
Yeah.
I didn't have someone to go and measure the rooms.
Trusted
the blueprint, and I got stung. Still end up being a great property, so I budget for a little bit of that as well.
Yeah.
And always a factor in the fact that you might have to do some works.
Yeah. And the area you're able to do that because you invest in one area, which is Stoke. Yeah. So no, interesting. And once you've rented, you've set it all up, ready to be rented, do you do all the viewings yourself, or do you get an agent to do the viewings?
We do them.
You do them?
Yeah. The only reason being is my wife is a doctor, so we do a lot of students in that area, and she was a student there, so we find the personal touch of understanding like what buses work and what the student life is like and that kind of stuff, and like just talking about general student life along with us knowing the house inside and out. For one, we don't have to pay the fees, and two, we always sign up people way faster than we have tried renovators before, didn't get any of the same results we did.
Right, okay.
So, we've met them, and then when we buy right, we do them up nicely.
Yeah.
I go above and beyond with the renos, because I always think, well, I like nice things, and I also think if you have a nice place, people get more likely to keep it nice. We then put them in our group chat, so we are really hands-on. So we have like a great Facebook group chat, so we make sure that if they've got any questions, we're just always there available, so that if anything breaks, this, that and the other.
Yeah.
I treat it like a business. The same way we would do a client, right? They're a client of mine, and I think they should treat them as such. They're paying me for a service. And I find that when we respect them, they respect us. And if they don't, I say, look, we've gone above and beyond to help you, like stop taking the piss, basically.
Yeah.
And then I feel within my right to then go and give them a bit of a telling off if they do something that I don't agree with. But for the most part, human beings are pretty civil. If you treat them well, they'll treat you well.
No, I think it's so valuable. Treat them like a client, because they are paying you money to live in that property.
Yeah, we do well out of them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like they pay you good money for that room, right? So if you put yourself in their shoes, because I was in their shoes once, and I've had really bad landlords, and I couldn't get hold of them. There was a leak or damp; it'd take weeks or months to fix, or it wasn't fixed. I do it as if something breaks, we try and get it done that same day, if not the next day. And not only that, we then have constant communication, so they know what's coming, when it's going to be fixed, and we keep them updated. No, that's fine. Then you get around to the end of the tenancy, you go, oh, by the way, you broke this and this, and we come out your deposit. Okay, cool, no worries. You treat us really well, rather than effing and blind at you at the end of the year, trying to get you don't have those problems. Yeah. For the most part, you do always sometimes.
No, of course, yeah.
Pretty pleasant experience most of the time.
If you treat them like a good human.
And on top of that, we quite often have students referring students.
Clever, yeah, which happens,
Only if you've treated them well.
Yeah. So, and just one thing on the contract. So, if you've got a 5-bed HMO, and would you rent one contract to 5 students, or do you rent it room by room?
No, it's all under one contract to one leading tenant.
Yeah. So if one leaves halfway through the year, the others pay. They've got to find the shortfall.
Yes, and then we always say, like, if someone leaves, then it's up to you. It's your obligation to find someone else. We'll do our best to find someone. Yeah. But you'd have to take that
cover the money.
Yeah.
No, interesting, and I think that's the other benefit. Because otherwise, you can have rooms turning around, and it'd be a lot of work and upkeep, and voids, which takes away your profit. So, no, I think there's a lot to be said about student HMOs, and not everyone looks straight away at the professional HMOs because you can maybe charge a little bit more per room, but there's a lot of benefits to come with student HMOs, and not even taking into account the fact I don't think you pay council tax, do you? Because if they're student HMOs.
No. So your council tax plus. Quite COVID friendly.
Yeah.
because they still got their loans.
Of course, yeah.
So a lot of people doing commercial, obviously they had subsidies from the government and stuff, but there have been a lot of landlords that didn't get any rent because a lot of people have been not furloughed, lost their jobs, etc., etc. Touch wood, we didn't have that problem.
No, which again is...
I know under contract, but still, there's people who don't have the affordability to pay. Like, they kind of budgeted that anyway, the students, they're then 1 year. So that was quite a good thing that we found during lockdown.
Yeah, which again...
Plus they weren't even there for the most part.
So,
because they weren't, so the houses were empty all year and they paid their bills.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
So it actually worked out quite well.
Yeah.
So,
no, good.
One aspect of my life that did go quite well during lockdown, you know, so...
Yeah, less stress, which is good. So, and then the house we're sitting in, this lovely house. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions on this, if you don't mind. So, obviously, it's a beautiful area, beautiful house, lots of space around it. You've already mentioned that you're going to, potentially double it. Is this something that you've looked at as just purely for profit making, or is it actually, this is going to be a lovely house?
What I tell my wife,
and
what if I tell you two different things?
Yeah.
So this was bought as a forever home.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. So
it has that feel.
Yeah, it's a very nice house.
Yeah.
It's a very warming location. Like it has that appeal. But there is an agenda there. I have a financial metric that I want to hit in terms of what value I want to achieve for this property. The reason being is I want to get into development. Not on a huge scale. I think I mentioned to you outside earlier, I want to do one-off developments.
Yeah.
Or like very small projects that I invest in, Guy Phoenix style, as we said earlier. Not to his caliber, but big developments that I can put my stamp on. And to do that, there needs to be a tremendous amount of cash flow. As you probably know, to buy land and have the money to put into those things. I mean, without borrowing, I want to do a lot of it without having to borrow.
Right, okay.
I want to be able to fund the project.
Yeah. And incredibly cash intensive.
Very, but can be very lucrative if you get it right.
Yeah.
So up till now, I haven't really had that ability. And now, because as much as I like HMOs and those kind of things, it doesn't get me out of bed. It doesn't get me excited. I want to get more involved in development and have my businesses now being run more by the staff that I've put in place and have them kind of facilitate cash flow and me have like a more of an overview kind of position where I'm overseeing them, making sure everything's in place, but not doing day-to-day with businesses.
Yeah.
Businesses are now kind of getting to that point. In the next year, they'll be running pretty self-sufficiently, hopefully, touch wood. And the goal is then to do 1 to 2 development projects per year. And I want to use this as a starting point to learn, one, and secondly, be able to pull a tremendous amount of equity out of it once I've finished. So we will stay here most likely, use it to pull equity out, so remortgage or borrow against it, whatever I want to do it at that point. And then I've got the capital there, but I want more to be able to really go and do a project and say, right, okay, we can fund the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's the main reason for this. So the intention is to stay here. And build this into something we want. So when we do the renovation, we start the extension, hopefully. I'll probably wait till early next year because we're coming into obviously winter time and trades showing up over December. We'll see. Depends how quickly the planning goes through. But the idea being is I will put money into this above and beyond what I would do if I was just trying to achieve a certain value. This would be like, okay, I want those tiles, I'll buy those tiles. If I want that countertop, I'll have that countertop even if it's that much more expensive because I want it because I'm staying here.
Yeah. So
the mindset will be build it to the specs I want with the intention of staying here, but will I stay here forever? Probably not. I'll get bored.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because then, as you say, you put your own personal touches on it rather than just commercial minded, and it makes.
I can build it to a home.
Yeah, which is nice. And then obviously you're going to be running businesses from here as well.
Absolutely, and then also the things about like when you're doing something for a home. I mean, if I was doing this just for pure value, I'd be chatting to a estate agent and saying, how many bedrooms do I need? How many en-suites do I need? Rather than going, okay, how do I want my bedroom to be? How big do I want it? How do I want my ensuite to look? How do I want my walk-in wardrobe to look? Because that will dictate how many rooms I can have. Because if I want my walk-in wardrobe a certain size, that might be eating up from that 5th bedroom that the estate agent said would add a little bit more value to the house. But when I'm not thinking about value, I'll build it into a livable state that I want to live in rather than what's achieving maximum value. And that's the difference in thought process.
Yeah.
Behind, so I won't be going to estate agents asking them how many bedrooms I should have. I'll be going to architect, how can I get this for me? Design this for me.
And I'm a big fan of that. I think, especially as you are planning to live there for some time,
Yeah.
I think you need to go in with that kind of view on it as well.
And I also think now the conventional ways of valuing homes, I've had a chat with a few high-end estate agents recently that sell very expensive homes. They're like, it's more about functional living space than actual metrics of how many baths there are or whatever else. People come to the house but this really works.
Yes.
More than before, where I was how many square foot is it? This, that, all the traditional things that you would value a house on don't always necessarily, especially when you go into the high end of the market, when you're going 2 million plus, which is I'm hoping to get.
Yeah.
It's more about what's the person looking at it willing to pay for it, rather than what's the numbers on the sheet.
Because chances are they're probably not going to need more than 7 bedrooms. No. So you get to a certain point.
Exactly.
It becomes more about
33 baths. You know, you could have done with a 25. You'd be fine, but. Yeah.
No, okay. No, interesting. And last question for you, not related to the house actually. The last question, just there's a lot of people out there who are seen as maybe gurus within the industry.
Mm-hmm.
A big thing they like to push is, and I get both sides of this question just as a caveat. But the big thing they like to push is don't buy a home, put that money into investments that make you money to be able to rent a home and make cash flow. Now, I'm a little bit anti that because I think having a home is obviously important to have a base for yourself. I think you can use it to kind of use it to your advantage and use it as a way of creating equity value and as an experience. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to get your thoughts on it. If you were brand new maybe and you had a pool of money, where's your head go first?
Home. Absolutely home. That's exactly what I did anyway.
Oh yeah.
From the natural part of, firstly, I always knew that once I have a home, I'm not paying someone's rent. First and foremost, just mentally, I didn't want to be paying someone's rent. Second to that, I always knew that I could get lodgers in. If I wanted more equity, I've got other rooms I could rent out to lodgers, and that's quite tax friendly as well, actually, by the way. So you can actually still make money from that property. Plus, if I then wanted to eventually, if I wanted to go and rent somewhere, I could just convert my mortgage over at some point and actually turn it into a commercial mortgage. And first of all, it's actually easier to get a domestic mortgage than it is a commercial mortgage. So if you're starting out from scratch, you've got all these pros. Going straight down the commercial route with no experience is much harder.
Yeah.
Probably less profitable. And secondly, so you're going to be paying rent for your place, wherever you're living. Presumably you've got to live somewhere unless you live with your parents, which is then also, for me, would be quite hard knowing I own property still living at home with my parents. So I'd rather own my own property that I lived in. And like you said, and then branch out from there. And then there is still the ability, you still have ways of making money from that property while you're there. And then, like you say, equity increases from that over time. I mean, I made 2 years I owned my first property. I think I made something like 140 grand profit on that. And I lodged out a couple of rooms, so I was paying for my pretty much all my mortgage. And that then gave me the cash flow to then step up and then get into the commercial game. So, I mean, I'm not saying don't go down the commercial route, but if you're kind of really starting out and you don't know what to do, firstly get a mentor. And I always advocate mentors.
Take advice on it.
Take advice on it, and because everyone's personal position is different.
Yeah.
You might be renting in a place because you needed to be there for work, so you couldn't move out you couldn't buy somewhere in London with the money you had. You might be buying somewhere up north, for example.
Yes, that's a good.
In that case, you wouldn't buy that property to live in. In that case, you probably would be best to go on the commercial route. Yeah. However, if you could live where you're working, I would advise me personally buying something for yourself first.
Yeah.
Easy to get the mortgage. You've got a lot of pros with that. Like I say, you can turn it into you can change your mortgage over in the future if you need to. You can chat to the bank. You can change it all over.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've had a domestic mortgage turned into a commercial mortgage. So you're nothing stuck either. You don't have to live there forever as a domestic thing.
Plans change. Yeah. So I think that you've covered everything there. But there's a lot of flexibility if you buy a place with a home. You can buy
more flexibility. Yeah, I think it's hard to go the other way around. Than going commercial back to domestic. I think it's easier to go domestic commercial. Lower
deposits, banks trust you more because you've got your own home, you've got your own, you've got stuff to lose.
I mean, potentially now if you want to be outside of a limited company, if you don't own a limited company, you've got to set one up. It's much harder to get mortgages through a limited company because you've got no income, presumably if it's a new limited company.
Yeah.
I mean, once you've got a portfolio of properties
They go off the cash
So you
flow.
got the cash flow, you've already got business there, it's easier. But when you're starting, I think the question was starting out.
Yeah.
In that instance, it's much harder to do it that way. You've got a lot more hurdles to learn and everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, no, thanks. I think that was a good thing to end on for anyone that's a beginner. And thanks again for coming on.
Cheers, mate. Well, I'll tell you what, when the renos start working properly, we'll get you back again, mate.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to sort of document and see that part of it. So,
it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, but
No,
but it deserves that, doesn't it?
It needs it. Like the location spot on the houses isn't what it needs to be. This whole plot could just be epic.
So we'll be back a little bit later than
What time is it?
planned. 12 now.
Okay, no worries.
So right, just finished up with Elliot, and it's always such a good experience coming over and seeing Elliot, not only because he has properties, he's got so much experience in business, but because he can give me tips for, you know, building an audience and yeah, I guess being able to help me build up my businesses. So I always leave with so much value. I don't always feel like I give him as much value as I get back, but yeah, massively appreciate his time, and what a house as well. He's bought such a great house, a lovely location, and you know what they always say, you can change the house but you can't change the location. So I think he's bought a really cool project there where he's going to be able to add an awful lot of value to that property, and with the location it's in, he's going to be able to drive up the value of it. But I hope you enjoyed the interview and the little sit down chat, and appreciate you watching as always. Until next week, I'll see you then.